Hi everyone, and welcome to the SwiftCase Productivity Podcast. My name is Adam Sykes, the founder of SwiftCase, a professional productivity platform, and today I've got with me
Phil Whitby, developer at SwiftCase.
And Craig McCarthy, development manager at SwiftCase.
Great. So today we're going to look into knowing when to stop.
Yeah.
So maybe some businesses or things like TV shows or whatever have gone a bit beyond their sell-by dates.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe they've not really changed to move with the times, or maybe they should have called it a day and realised things are up. So I think this is obviously something that's led on from a conversation you may have been having in the office this week.
It's a very, very more like happening now. It's this Game of Thrones.
Okay.
So what's happened that made me think about this was that it wasn't that Game of Thrones didn't change. It seems like that it has changed because it knew it was ending and it needed to change to fit everything in. So, if those of you who haven't watched Game of Thrones, it's like a...
I'm halfway through. It's a quest.
No spoilers. All I know is no spoilers, otherwise we're going to get a lot of hate now.
That's right, exactly, yeah. So, this was like potentially one of the greatest TV shows made, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinion, but that doesn't validate it. But personally, I enjoyed it immensely. And for the first 6 seasons, it was gold. But then as they came to the end of the source material, season 7, the showrunners were then responsible for wrapping it up. And 8 seasons is a long time for a TV show because a lot of these characters have been there from the very beginning. Some of them grown up. And now pushing 30 or even just a bit younger. And they probably want to move on with their careers. So everyone who's involved with it is moving on to something very soon. So they're all just like, oh, let's just wrap it up. But so a lot of people have invested a lot of emotional substance into it, I guess, and are really looking for proper resolution. Now, it seems to be evident with the last episode coming up soon that maybe that's not going to happen. And it's not because people's expectations about the characters are going to be undermined, because they probably will, because they've done that all the way through the show. They've undermined expectations and they've been very nasty to the viewer. And so a kind of Stockholm syndrome has probably developed between the viewer and the show. Because, and this is why it's revolutionary really, because it really avoided the pitfalls of the shows. But now the real problem is that they should probably have either extended it beyond 8 seasons and give it a proper, at the pace it deserved, rather than just sort of rushing it. Or they should have ended it when it was good, and just said, well, we've run out of source material, we can't possibly match it, we're going to wait and maybe do an offshoot or something, a spin-off, but there are other TV shows that have finished, even longer than that.
The one we were talking about the other day, Dexter.
Oh my god, that was terrible.
It was a great show.
It was amazing.
It was about 4 series in, amazing. I had a great time with it.
It seems like there's a maximum number. That something can be good for.
And some series do it well, like Breaking Bad I thought did it really well. Perfect. It had I think it was 8 seasons.
Yeah, it was 5.
Was it only 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Felt like they but it had like the full arc, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it ended when it needed to end.
They did it right.
And it had a good ending without giving anything away. If people haven't seen it yet, it was a great show, and it finished. And there's a show that we watched, probably only a British show, the Durrells, which is based. This is totally different to all these action and like fancy things. It's about Gerald Durrell, who was the naturalist, and he wrote about his family, and it was 3 books that he wrote about his family, and they lived in Corfu, on the island of Corfu in like the 1930s, and basically they got to the end of the books, and like they had to leave the story there, because obviously it's a true story. You can't start filling in gaps of a real life story. But the point was the series left people wanting more.
That's interesting.
And that's the point for an artistic point of view. You want to leave people wanting more, don't you? You get people, you go and see a band play live. They don't play every song on every album, for the whole, and do it to death. They come back and do their encore, and they but they leave you wanting more at the end of the day. And some TV shows just go on well past their natural life.
Maybe the problem is that they try and resolve. Like I remember reading that I think it was Johann Sebastian Bach maybe never resolved any of his music. It was never, because you know in music you have that pattern, like a chord pattern that requires a certain assonant note chord to resolve it, so it feels complete. And I'm not sure if it was back, but nearly all of his music and his long pieces would never fully get like that, so you're always left with this feeling uneasy. It's not quite finished. And I know he used a lot of maths, and he had a lot of like palindromic and what are they called, those strips, Mobius strip based ideas, and which of course never really end, do they?
No.
And like Escher doesn't, his pictures never really end and things like that. So maybe you're right, maybe all great art doesn't really ever resolve, and when it tries to do that, people are actually frustrated.
Oh yeah.
Even though it feels like
it's never what they want.
It's never what you wanted, is it? It's never what you wanted. It's
never
like, you know.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it's very rare.
And it was all a dream. That's the kind of ending.
Yeah. It's very hard to live up to the expectations, and certainly to the expectations of multiple people who've all got different perspectives.
Exactly,
But I suppose in business it's slightly different, isn't it? A lot of the time, go on past their sell-by dates, mainly because they haven't evolved.
Exactly.
So like things come to a natural end. Like you get the ideas, like industries where they've been taken over. So whether railroads across the US were overtaken by airplanes, or Blockbuster was overtaken by Netflix,
and Netflix will be overtaken by someone else.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be something,
and they know it.
Yeah,
and they're doing something about it, and they always, like, at first it felt like, all right, well, they're just providing the streaming content, but they knew that they would run out of content, or that people would get to the end of the library and go, well, I don't need Netflix anymore.
I've seen everything.
So they've had to take on, make their own stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they are rising to it at the moment.
Yeah, but then you get other companies like sort of the classic everyone goes to, like Apple, where you can't define what they are. And this is probably something that we'll come on to, the book review in another episode that we're doing. The company is not what they do. It's about why they do it. And it allows them to be more adaptable. So
Nintendo the same.
What is Apple? It's not a computer company.
No, it's not. But
it's not a phone company. It's it's a company that revolves around a vision, an idea about being different, and like facilitating people to think differently, and
to be an individual.
To be an individual,
difference.
Yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
So. Whereas like other companies that maybe haven't had the same success, like Dell or something, it's a tech company. It can produce the same like sort of equipment, or but they've never really, they've not got that mass market.
They'll always be known as the computer company, won't they? Like,
exactly.
They make computers.
And I think if you can be a company that evolves over time, then you can adapt to things. And James Bond's a classic, I suppose, if going back to films, James Bond's a classic example of this. By having different iterations of Bond,
he never dies.
Kind of never really dies, does it? Because you remember the one that you grew
up
with,
or
like
that's
that's how chauvinistic he was.
Yeah, exactly. But of the time, it was, and if you view it as of the time,
it's very nostalgic.
I really like Sean Connery, but I actually really like the Daniel Craig ones now.
I think only in the distant future will we be able to compare them properly, because everyone always feels it's like anything. The books on music, the classic stuff is always the best. You can everyone's favourite Bond will be one of the older ones. Until 24 years.
I don't know, because I actually like them all for all different reasons. I think even George Lazenby. He always gets he even gets like he gets the the short end of the stick.
He really did. He really did.
So but the Bond films themselves, they're all they've all got different things. You've got the comedy of like Roger Moore, haven't you? You've got the very serious nature of Daniel Craig, and you've kind of got something in between with Pierce Brosnan. It evolves and it changes, and it's it
becomes like a mirror. I think it's a mirror of our time. Always, and so as long as time goes on,
it's like music. It's like pop music, I suppose. Like I know as a 90s kid, I think all like my generation really look back on like the cheesy pop from then, like the whole nights for it now, for like late 20s, 30-year-olds.
I hope they're enjoyed ironically.
Oh, of course, of course.
Thank God.
But it does send you back to that time, and I think nostalgia is something that
rose-tinted spectacles. I mean, people talk about the 80s as if it was like nothing but gold, but I lived it. Like Thunder Valley, and the amount of dross that was coming out. I mean, I hated 80s music at the time because it just seemed like it was a never-ending torrent of like copies of copies of copies. But now with hindsight and selectivity of
it's filtered down. You only see the good bits. It was amazing.
Depeche Mode, it had but I was living under that illusion about the 60s when I was in the 80s.
That's interesting because I still think the 80s is objectively the best decade of music.
Well, maybe that's because the distribution of media at the time was probably, and exposure to things was higher than it had ever been.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a different. Maybe it's a different episode, but I think just the 80s was the sweet spot between the democratization of people being able to afford to make their instruments and like to distribute stuff. So you got like it's the sweet spot before now where everyone can do it, and there's too much crap. There's too much crap now, and also the people that make the difference now are the ones who can afford the budget to promote. Whereas I think there was the I don't think you'd get nowadays. Gary Newman said I wouldn't be famous if I was around now.
But fame doesn't matter.
I wouldn't be successful. I wouldn't be.
You wouldn't have made money off the music.
People wouldn't have heard my music the same level as they did then. You get people now like to get number one chart position now. You sell like barely any records, don't you, or barely any downloads.
But does number one have any cachet now?
No, exactly, because it doesn't. But then the people who were having number ones were making, millions and millions of sales.
It's almost like the art nowadays, really, is the marketing behind the.
But see, for me, it doesn't matter how much crap there is, because I can just ignore that. It's not because if the total output of everybody is increased, then by distribution there's going to be more.
It's difficult. It's harder to find.
It's difficult to find.
There's no filter.
There is Spotify does it for me.
Yeah, Spotify. But Spotify's a good point of what we're talking about there, isn't it? Because that was the evolution of the music industry. Was trying to going back to a previous episode, was milking people for ages for these CDs and for various things like that, which the artists themselves weren't making that much off because there was so many things going in between, and the whole music industry was based on the fact of like people paying back their advances effectively, wasn't it? And it was like it was an investment thing. Whereas now, you can record your own song, you record your own podcast,
basically start
you can start your own label, can't you? With very little things. Same for books. You can produce your own book, get it on Amazon, and be competing with the bestseller. There's no one can get in your way anymore. You haven't got to be found by a publisher, so anyone's got like a market available, and like publishers and bookshops aren't doing very well, are they?
There's just more noise.
There's just more noise.
That's
interesting. It is a difficult one with some industries.
It's applicable, isn't it?
Things have died because they've gone past their natural life, or they've been trying to take advantage of people. But at the same time, did they used to provide a filter,
a curational service?
Yeah, exactly.
But unfortunately, I think they curated it. The people who curated it were just more about curating it for their mates and people they knew than it was about quality.
Yeah,
that's the only issue. It's like, Stock Aitken and Waterman, remember in the 80s, Kylie, Jason Donovan, I don't think they went, this is the cream of the crop. I think they went, here's someone who's good looking enough for us to manipulate and use our standard set of chords and just pump it out.
Mike Stock follows me on Twitter. Well, he doesn't. No, sorry, he doesn't follow me on Twitter. He follows.
Sorry, Mike.
He follows someone who I know on Twitter, and he would sometimes comment.
Oh no!
But I think the genius. No, but seriously, the genius of Stock Aitken and Waterman was finding the formula that was like the that appealed to the market in such a way that and they did bring a kind of a new sound, even if like after that a lot of their artists you could tell, couldn't you?
Straight
away. You could tell it was Stock Aitken and Waterman. You could tell straight away. But they were very successful.
Rick Ashley. Anyone that produces Rick Ashley is a legend in my mind. So that's
generation of the Rit Roll.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just think about what he's given to us.
Yeah. No, never going to give him up, are we? Sorry, we're going to have to edit that out. So I suppose the key thing we were getting back to what we were talking about today was the businesses. I suppose relating it to businesses now need to evolve to keep up, and if you are stuck based on one particular product or one particular if you like, preempting an episode we're going to do about start with why later on, it's hard to evolve and adapt. And actually, if your business is revolved around core ideals, it's much easier to drop products and actually move on and adapt and move forward. So hopefully you've enjoyed.
It sounds like a good place to end this podcast.
Yeah. We know when to finish now.
If you've got any comments about whether we should stop or whether you're enjoying it, please leave it below in the comments.
Yep, and don't forget to follow us on social media at SwiftCase UK, and also check out our website, swiftcase.co.uk.
Yeah, and please subscribe.
Okay, thanks for listening. Even Mike Stark, he does. And we'll see you again next time. My name's Adam Sykes, founder of SwiftCase, the professional productivity platform. Thanks for listening.